When I'm training for professional competitions, men and women always ask me for advice. To women, I say push yourself harder than you ever have before and go beyond your comfort zone. Focus on your goals. Men, if I am willing to push myself to become Mr. Olympia in 2022, then I only have one thing to say to you. Bring your A game.
Here we go again.
Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly values, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey, how's everybody doing? We got a Thanksgiving treat for you guys, the Thanksgiving cookout for everybody. How's everybody doing? Everybody okay today? I know most people, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving or not. Thank you so much, Miss Tamika. Thank you so much, beloved. I know everybody's not doing the whole Thanksgiving deal, but most of us are cooking or eating or watching a game or something. I know one of them games is on. I might have to check out a game at some point. I'm not really doing no cooking. My sister doing a little cooking. The only thing I did was she asked me to make the dressing. So I went ahead and made a dressing. I actually made a keto dressing. Just found a recipe for keto version of cornbread, because I always make cornbread dressing. You know, black people make cornbread dressing. And hopefully it tastes pretty good. I make my own cranberry sauce. Like homemade cranberry sauce. You just get the cranberries and, you know, kind of almost not boil them. It's not quite a boil. Like a simmer. It's like making any other type of compote. You know, if you go to a pancake house, they got the fruit compote. That's how you make cranberry sauce. I sound like a Miss Marie. It's okay. I'm glad that you in here. Because sometimes things get lost in chats and things of that nature. So I didn't want you to feel attacked. So my apologies if anything that I said may have offended you, or you know, I never want any type of misunderstandings or anything. But the issues between black women and black men are very layered. So sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad that you are here, because these messages can apply to anybody. Thank you, Ziana. Can apply to anybody. There are a lot, and I saw what you said in the chat room as well about feminism kind of spreading in different cultures, different countries. And that's why I was saying to you that whatever voice you have in your family, in your community, around you, get with women, get with other Muslim sisters that understand their deen. Don't let that feminism seep in. Islam has no place for that. Don't let feminism seep in the places around you. It is a failed system. It's a system designed to make societies fail by introducing another value system to women and make us fail. And thus our families also fail, which is what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so I don't want anybody who isn't black, but you're here, to feel like you're not welcome to listen, to learn, and to interject. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll need the likes up. I got 108 people, 74 likes. So bam, 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 bam. We got to get the likes up. Bam, bam. We got to, I may address that. I may address feminism spreading in other places and exhort women of other cultures. The good women of them cultures don't stand by like we did. In Black society, the good women stood by because we didn't understand. We did not fully comprehend. We didn't have the foresight to see the failure of this on such a wide and tremendous scale. We did not see. But now that we're living in the aftermath of the failure, there is no reason why any other society should repeat this at all. At all. So this is why Black women can't get the men that they want. This is essentially part 2 of the live stream that I did yesterday. And so we're going to go ahead and continue. We talked about the toxic femininity, basically, where there are parts of our female nature where women are encouraged to, women are encouraged to utilize parts of our nature in a toxic way. We're utilizing, just to give a real quick review before we move on, we are utilizing these parts, the beauty. Remember when I talked about beauty, using it as leverage, using it as a way to gain leverage or gain the upper hand in a bad way, in a negative way. Chaos, being unchecked, no accountability, no responsibility for women. The selfishness, not even including the preservation of herself and her children. Her selfishness is so toxic now that it does not even include her children. Hypergamy was toxic also, by not necessarily using it as the positive way in terms of how we developed it from a bioevolutionary standpoint, but using it within the lost value system to get over on people, and to get over on the so-called system or the game without any regard to the wake of destruction that we leave behind us. And also, lastly, the culture was toxic because we are passing on the lost value system as a replacement for Black people's culture. Okay, so now that we did a real quick sort of review for that, all right, let's go on to the continuation because I never quite finished it. So here are some of the other things. I'm going to move on to something deeper, but I want to talk about not being able to leave foolishness behind. Not being able, see, Black women can't leave foolishness behind. What am I talking about? I'm talking about in several ways. The first thing you got to leave behind, if you are a GMO female, shout out to Danica Marie, who has been on fire lately. If you are a GMO female, a genetically modified hyena dirty backfoot, okay? If you are one of them and you are transitioning into a feminine woman that is conscientious now of the things that she says, the things that she does, she is making sure to have accountability, take responsibility for the things that she's doing, the things that she's saying, her actions, and the consequences of her actions for the people around her and the environment that she is in. If you are making that transition, that is you taking the first steps in leaving the foolishness behind. You gotta leave it. You gotta leave it. It has been a place of comfort for you. We know this. I've been there. I've done that. Been in a place of comfort where you are just full of foolishness. And while my foolishness may not have played out in the sense of, I'm getting this guy for child support and I'm doing this and doing that, it was still foolishness, still not taking things seriously, not being conscious about what you're doing and how it's affecting people. You just going about being chaotic and not being checked. And it was more egregious for me because I knew better in a lot of them instances. And a lot of us know better. A lot of us know better. But in any case, I've been there before. And so when you're making transition, when you're saying, you know what, let me do something better. I've decided to become a better person. I've been a lame person. I've been kind of ridiculous. So let me get myself together. Let me get my life together. Let me get my mind right. And when you start getting your mind right, you are leaving the foolishness behind. The foolishness of being a gynocrat in whatever form that took for you. The foolishness of being a hyena in whatever form that took for you. Now you're going to have to leave that stuff behind. And that means leave some people behind. See, there are people, ladies, and a lot of times we stick around other women that keep us single, that keep us miserable, that keep us in the same spot where we are not evolving, we are not growing, and we are not becoming better women because we don't want to be outcast from the group. I've said this a million times before. Women do not like to be outcast from the group of other women. We do not like that. That goes against another part of our bioevolution. Groups have meant protection for women. We're very social in that way. We don't like being ostracized. We don't like being the lone wolf where we don't have any female friends that we can call upon or be with or be around or be accepted by. And a lot of times because of that, we'll know better than to do or engage in a lot of foolishness, and we'll still keep doing that. We'll still keep going along to get along. Women are the number one in go along to get along. We know how to go along to get along. Okay? Even when it is destructive, such as the gynocracy. Very destructive, very negative. You'll find a bunch of women will support it even though it has been destructive. They just don't want to be cast out. And the reason why I'm going off on this little bit of a tangent and talking about why black women can't get men is because you can't leave foolishness. See, you have met up with these men that you say that you ain't never met up with before. These very industrious, very intelligent, very goal-oriented, result-driven men. You've met up with these men. And you have not been able to leave the foolishness behind long enough and well enough to see that he had a vision and to see what that vision was and to see whether or not you could become part of that vision. Ultimately, the answer was no. You could not become part of that vision. And it wasn't because the vision was too daunting. It was because you could not chill with your mama and your auntie and your friends and your little baby cousin and all of these other women around you, and sometimes men, because let's just be clear, there are men with back feet. There are dirty hyena men. There are male hyenas. Hyenas do not procreate on their own. They procreate with the male hyena, who is weak and goofy. And that is what we call a maggle. A male gynocrat upholding the same foolishness that these females uphold. Perpetuating the same foolishness that these women perpetuate and uphold. Okay? So let's not get nothing twisted. There are male gynocrats. We've run into them. Sometimes they in our family. They got back feet too. All right? Got a gynocratic mind. and a gynocratic way of thinking, even though the gynocracy does not even support men in any way, shape, or form, other than to use them for beasts of burden, they still be gynocrats. Kikiing and TTing and he-heing with the rest of them. Not even knowing that he working against his own benefit. But that is a tangent. Let me get back on task. You are unable to evolve. And that inability to evolve really plays out in you can't get rid of your trouble. See, when you can't evolve as a woman into a better woman, you're proving to men that you can't get away from trouble, that no amount of his problem solving is gonna make you better because you like being in that trouble. Excuse me, you like being in that chaotic state where can't nobody reel you in. There's no, you'll listen for a minute. When you're in front of them, you will act like you listening, act like you taking note, act like you taking heed. But then, when you're not around him anymore, when you get around other influences, you go right back to the same foolishness that you were in before he applied his problem solving to you to tell you how to stop having all of this foolishness and chaos and these ridiculous situations study popping up. It's study this and study that going on. It's always an emergency. It's always a crisis. It's always you into something. It's always some drama. He trying to give you a way out of that. And when you sitting in front of him, you will act like you taking that information and gonna apply it. But then you never apply it. And then all of these other people and outside external things can influence you against that problem solving. Men who got something to do don't got time for that. He eventually gonna get tired. He eventually gonna get tired of problem solving for a woman that never accepts the solutions. A woman that never accepts the solution to get out of drama and really transform from that caterpillar to a butterfly. You want to be a caterpillar and never get into your chrysalis. He tell you how to build your chrysalis. You act like you're going to go over there and build it. Then you go back over there and eat some more as a caterpillar. This is counterproductive. Okay? This is counterproductive. Men who are busy in their lives, having their own leadership, living their lives according to the 10 life values, getting themselves in order or maintaining the order that they already have put themselves in, do not have time for a woman that cannot pass the trouble vetting part. Because if you're too much trouble, you're ultimately also too much of a threat. This is why you can't get the men that you want. This is why sometimes they'll come to you and you'll really want that man. You'll really be trying to impress that man. Only problem is you don't know how to impress him because you're putting on a face. You have not had or embodied the level of femininity and having your stuff together that you can be yourself and attract that man to the point where he will commit in a relationship with you. This is what you missing, ladies. See, y'all calling all around trying to figure out a quick fix. It's not like hitting the lotto. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like how diet pills don't work. You want to lose weight, but you don't want to do the work to lose the weight. You don't want to accept that you got to count calories. You don't want to accept that you can't eat too many meals a day. You don't want to accept that you can't eat fried chicken every day and lose weight and not do no workouts and not you don't want to accept that. So you looking for a quick fix. Oh, I can take a diet pill or I can take this and that and I'll lose weight. It'll be, or I can go and get cosmetic surgery. I can get lipo. I can get around the work to get to the result. And too many of you are dealing in that type of fantasy world where you can get around the work and still get that result, the same result that people who are putting in the work actually get. And you'll find that you fail more often than you succeed with that method, because inculcated within the work is the ethic of the work, the discipline that the work give you. There's that word again, discipline. The thing that y'all rail against the most. You don't like to have discipline. See, in order to get on my weight loss journey and lose the weight, I had to have discipline. What was my discipline? I needed to be disciplined in what I ate, how much I ate, when I ate, when I exercised, how much or how little. Being mindful of what I'm doing and then measuring that progress, all right? And keeping up with whether or not I was making progress, whether or not there was a setback or what. What gets measured gets done. That's how I was able to get through this weight loss journey. And within that gave me discipline. I'm not jumping at every piece of cookie and cake I see. I broke the addiction to sugar. I broke all of these sorts of things. It brings discipline. And when you take shortcuts, you don't have discipline, because you don't just get discipline. You have to develop discipline by doing things that you have to be disciplined in order to do. No man wants a woman that doesn't have discipline, because he knows that he can count on her to wild out at any given moment. She is unstable in her thinking. She's unstable emotionally. She's unpredictable in her actions, because she doesn't have the discipline to stick to a plan or stick to what's going on in any meaningful way. Okay? So let me get 200 likes. I got 237 people. I got 155 likes. Come on. Bam, 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 bam. You gotta get the likes up. Bam, bam. You gotta, Come on. Come on. Okay? So we have to be able to have discipline. The other thing about discipline, I'm going to say it real quick. Thank you, Aries. The other thing about discipline, and I'm going to say real quick, is I've been talking this week a bit about King Richard. Put a 1 in the chat if you actually watched the movie. I went ahead and watched King Richard. Very, very good movie. I actually understand Venus and Serena a little bit more. I actually understand them more. They were raised. They really were raised. But put a 1 in the chat if you watch King Richard. I'm just curious. It's on HBO Max. If y'all don't know, if y'all got HBO Max, then it's there. You know, it could be a tearjerker, but I didn't cry necessarily when I watched it, just Jay. But it was very touching. It was very touching. So here's the thing. Here's why I brought that up. Thank you, Bishop. So I'm so thankful for you and your content, Lady Kendra. Thank you so much, sweetheart. You know how to warm somebody's heart, don't you? You better get out of here, Bishop. Leave me alone. Oh, you a bucket of water. Okay. I'm a crybaby too, just that. Y'all know I'm a crybaby. Okay. So the reason why I brought up King Richard again is because that man had a vision. And I might talk about this in another video. So I'm not going to go too far until I might save it for a video. But what I want to say is how many King Richards and Joe Jacksons didn't get an opportunity to really enact their vision because the women that they wanted to act that vision out with didn't have the discipline to stick it out and see it through. These were two men, thank you Caribbean culture, these are two men that was in poverty with their families. Okay, Joe Jackson lived in Gary, Indiana. That place is poor. Because that steel mill is not doing what it used to be. Okay? Richard Williams had his family of 5 girls and his wife in Compton. Thank you, Steady Show. In Compton, where gangs, Bloods, Crips, shootings, all types of stuff is going on in their environment. And these two men with determination and vision and a strict structure that everybody in the family had to commit to. Everybody, the children and the wife had to commit completely to this vision to see it through. Okay? Joe Jackson raised the most legendary pop icon that there will ever be in Michael Jackson. There will never be another Michael Jackson. Let everybody understand that. There may be some talented people come up that can sing, can dance, and all that good stuff, but there will never, ever be another Michael Jackson. Ever. Period. And his father set him on that path. Rather than let them wild out and get caught up in the streets of Gary and doing whatever, just doing whatever, wasting talent or never even putting them in position to see that talent to begin with, to even work on it. All of his children have had some success in some way. Janet was the only other one that made a significant music career as a solo artist. But all of them had a measure of success. The legacy was left behind. Whether anybody want to say something bad about Joe and he had an attitude or he might have been an a-hole, okay, whatever. We didn't grow up with him. So it wasn't nothing, ain't no skin off our nose, whatever he was doing. Richard Williams was the same way. The portrayal in the movie was that there was a female, a neighbor that didn't like the way he was raising his kids. You too hard on them girls. You too hard on them girls. It's not her business. She didn't have no man and nobody else. And look what he raised. Out of the 5, 2 have been world famous for what? Being champions in a sport that did not welcome black people, period. Very few black athletes who were tennis players. The only other black tennis player that I can think of that had notoriety was Arthur Ashe. But Venus and Serena kicked the door down. Legendary tennis players. And it was his vision. But his family had to have what? The discipline to go along with it, to assist him in seeing it through. My children are gonna make it. My daughters will not be a statistic. They will not just be single baby mamas and teenage mamas and out on the stroll. They are not. My daughters are better than that. And I'm going to prove that my daughters are better than that. So let's go ahead and take this commercial break. I'll be back and we're going to finish.
Okay, we're downloading A-Game's formula.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Kendra. And we back. Okay, you said Althea Gibson. Okay. I didn't know about her. Because, of course, I don't really keep up with tennis at all. So thank you for that. And these black fathers took a beating in media. See, it's only black fathers. Let me go off on this real quick tangent. I'm going to come back. Only black fathers get castigated for having confidence in their children and pushing their children towards excellence in a particular field. Whether that be entertainment, sports, or something else. When black fathers push their children and push their children and push their children towards excellence, they get cast as demons. They doing too much. They being too hard on their kids. Rumors will start floating around about how abusive these black fathers are to their children. Are they abusing them? Are they beating them? Are they trying to get them? You know what I'm saying? But when white fathers do it, they love them white fathers. I was just thinking, Archie Manning. Archie Manning is Eli and Peyton's father. Eli Manning and Peyton Manning are former NFL quarterbacks. Peyton is a Hall of Famer. Peyton was always better than Eli. But Eli won, I believe, 2 Super Bowls. Archie Manning, that was the legacy of their family, was football. And he pushed his sons into football, following in his footsteps. Peyton became a legendary quarterback. Played most of his career with Indianapolis before ending it in Denver. Nobody is saying that Archie Manning, something wrong with him. Because he pushed his children into his own legacy. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that about Vince Lombardi. His children took on the legacy in football also. Nobody says that about when white fathers have a vision for their families and then enact that vision and see it through to its conclusion. Nobody. Everybody say those are wonderful fathers and that's what they supposed to be doing and that's what good fathers do. But when black men do it, all of a sudden this is problematic. 1 second. My apologies. Thank you, Caribbean culture. So nobody says anything when white fathers do it. Let's move on. The other reason why black women cannot get the men that they want is because they have the wrong idea of what men are really supposed to do. And this argument shows itself the most when black women say that the reason why they gotta disrespect black men and this and that is because black men don't build. And when they say don't build, they mean black men don't own institutions. I got a news flash for that. Y'all want a news flash? Put a 2 in the chat if you want a news flash. Other ethnicities of men do not own the institution either. It is not a requirement. Thank you, Khalil. Nobody owns those institutions. Newsflash. Mexican men don't own it. Asian men don't own it. African men don't own it. Even white men don't own it. Ooh. White men don't own the institution either. The institutions belong to the society. It is the environment. And anywhere that you go, the institution belongs to the society at large. The only issue with the institution is that they are controlled by what runs an institution is the value system that the institution itself is based upon. So black women demonstrate that they don't understand institutions, environments, or value systems, or the way societies have been built, which means they don't really understand mobility. Because black men do not have to build or own an institution. Thank you, Stat. What black men have to do differently is have their own value system. They don't have to run, they don't have to control an entire institution in order to have their own value system. And I wonder how many people are going to pick up what I'm putting down. Because when we go back to the example of Tulsa, Oklahoma, they were still hospitals, schools, courts that were where? In the United States. They wasn't somewhere in some autonomous sovereign nation outside of the U.S. They were right here within the U.S. subject to what? U.S. law. Having to operate within what? U.S. law, state law, federal law. Yes, but what was the difference? The value system that black men implemented within their community was the polar opposite of the value system white men had implemented in their society and community. It was the complete opposite, which gave black people success, because we cannot be successful underneath the American value system. Y'all don't hear me. We gotta have a different one in order to have success. Same institutions. Them courts that they was going to, schools they was going to, was subject to the same law on the books. But the value system of the people that were attending it was the difference maker. So black women should not be trying to figure out the monetary value of the men that they're trying to get. They should be looking at the men's value systems to determine who they are and what these men can do. How far these men can go. Because we have to understand how society works to the best of our ability. That's really the main thing. And we too busy competing with black men to compete for them. We too busy competing with black men to compete for them. You understand that? We are too busy seeing our men as enemies rather than potential allies that we get to build with. We see them persistently as our enemy. So you can't be with and build with your enemy if that's how you think about black men, that these men are not with me and I'm not with them. And we constantly gotta be at odds. And so therefore I have to compete with them. So if I'm busy competing with them, then I can't compete for them. See, when we say come out from among them, that's not necessarily a physical exodus. That's not a physical exodus. Coming out from among them, that's a value system situation. You gotta change that. That's the segregation. It's not physical. It's mental and spiritual. Y'all don't hear me though. That's the segregation. That was the problem with Tulsa. That was the problem with Rosewood and so many hundreds of other communities that black people built based on their own value system. That's what's problematic to them. And that's what black women don't understand when we're supposed to be looking to our men. We look too hard at their pocket. Now, is money, finances, is that important within the relationship or within building families and communities? Of course it is. Of course it is. I would never sit here and say that it's not, because wealth is part of the 10 life values. Tulsa became wealthy. It was established by wealthy black men, and that created wealthy black families. When I talked about the visionaries such as a Richard Williams or Joe Jackson, they ended up with what? Wealth. They ended up with a wealth, financial wealth, to give to their families. But when we talk about a Richard Williams, what I liked about it is that he did not just go forward and push them for money. He gave them a value system. He gave his children a value system so that when they got to wealth, it wouldn't drive them the other way. They could handle the abundance. So not only did he inculcate the internal 5 to the best of his ability with his daughters, and then he started moving them. He started changing the environment. Instead of being in Compton, he moved to Florida with them, put them in a better school, put them in a better situation, a better environment, a better home, so they have to look over their shoulder and worry about getting shot and worried about drive-by and all this other stuff. Thank you, Just Jay. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you, beloved. So that Gemini gift of gab articulates so well the stuff that's on my ADHD mind. Sincerely grateful. I give thanks. Thank you so much too, beloved. Thank you so much. So he inculcated the internal 5 so that when they got to the external, when they got to the mobility, he focused on their education. He focused on their profession. He focused on their leisure. He focused on their wealth. He focused on that stuff, but in the proper order. He didn't just get money hungry and my kid work his kids to death so that they would hate him. They would be rich, but then they would have daddy issues about how hard he worked them and how he didn't pay attention to what they needed internally to get from him. Thank you, Rock Senior. He gave them what a father gives his children emotionally to set them up so that when the time came for his children to step out on the world stage, they were ready. When money came to them, when the windfall came and folks want to give them millions of dollars a deal for Nike and Reebok and this and that, that hard work paid off. He taught them humility. Don't get a big head. Don't brag. Don't do. Listen, you gotta have your internal values intact. We gotta have spirituality. We gotta have that stuff. So when she was 15. Ready. Because of who? Her father. Because of what? Him giving her the value system that works, not the lost value system. He inculcated the 10 life values in his family. And then there was wealth behind that. There was abundance behind that. So now they'll be able to keep that and put that with their children, hopefully. Hopefully, they won't lose sight of the lessons that their father gave them. And they'll be able to pass that to their children. Because that's the real legacy. Not just the money, but the value system. Thank you, Juana. So I'm thankful for your message, sis. Some of us women support you. And thank you so much. So he made sure that you going to have a base for this stuff. We're not just going to be money hungry just because we poor right now. I, as your father, we as your parents, we going to go through the struggle to make sure you don't have to. Thank you again, Caribbean culture. That's what makes us dangerous. That's why they don't want us unified. This is why they pressure you and continue to, reinforce the lost value system to us as Black women so that we can't unify based on a value system with our men. Because it makes us dangerous. Because when we working on a value system that's for us, our men are visionaries. It's our men that shaped the world, that did it for eons. They copied them, not the other way around. And they used to have our support, and they don't now. Because we too busy supporting a lost value system that destroys us on every level of function in society. And as long as we gonna stay blind to that fact, we gonna stay in this problem. We gonna stay in this misery. We gonna stay in this destruction. And getting the man that you want to be the least of your problems. How many inventions were stolen from the minds of black men? Too many to count. They still don't know how the pyramids of Giza were built exactly without modern day building equipment, construction equipment. Because of the ingenuity of our ancestors, the ingenuity of black men. How we know they didn't have modern day construction equipment? Because they were so busy trying to destroy our history. Now they want to act like we don't know how it was done. Yeah, right. And can't recreate it. That's why they stand even now as one of the great wonders of the world. I don't know how to do that. Wakanda ain't that far off the mark. It's got some fantastical elements to it. Of course, obviously. But it ain't that far off. That's what we were doing when we had our own value system. So the thing about it is, when are we going to change our outlook as black women on black men overall? How do we address the mindset? We have to change in ourselves. It's not just up to black men to figure out the different value system. We have to be willing to accept that. Learning your history would be one. Picking up a book somewhere, that'd be great. Digging back into our culture to do more than just accept the face value of what somebody is telling us about what we used to do. And we don't even have to go back to Africa for that. We can do this for the recent history of this country concerning black people. We were not just slaves. Don't let nobody tell you that. And I'm not just a history buff sitting here. I don't claim to be that. But I understand you cannot just be on the surface and not dig any deeper. So we don't have to go all the way back to Imhotep and ancient Kemet and things of that nature. That's beautiful, but we don't even got to go back that far. Let's go back to Reconstruction. Let's go back to the period right after Reconstruction. Let's just go there. This is why it's important to re-understand the value system and how value systems come about. We have to correct our understanding of what it means to build families and legacies. What is a legacy? What is a family? It's not only about finance. Finance is included, but it's not only about that. We have to revisit our thought pattern on what constitutes a family. Just having kids here and there willy-nilly without a plan and without a structure is not a family. You're just creating broken dreams and people that live on the edges of survival all the time. We have to understand that things are built on values combined with wealth, or they lead to wealth, but not wealth alone. Money alone doesn't do it. That's not how the rest of the world is moving ahead. We must, as women, we must understand the concept of, and this is the last chart I'm going to show right now. We have to understand the concept of the bioculturon and the fact that values are built upon biology, culture, and environment. We have to understand that. This is key. This is what the rest of the world knows that we don't know. We're behind. Rest of the world know this stuff and have been acting upon it. This is the only reason why we stay behind and people eat off of us, is because somewhere along the line we forgot that key lesson and they didn't. So anyway, here's something that you won't forget. You won't forget to get A Game. A Game, this show was brought to you by A Game, a male herbal solution with 21 wonderful herbs, natural, no artificial ingredients, nothing to make you crash or have all of these weird side effects. So fellas, you want to get on your A game. Ladies, you got men in your life and you want them on their A game. Just click the link at the top of the chat, agameherbal.com, and get a 10% discount using the code Kendra10 and have this box of awesomeness sent to you ASAP. All right? I'd like to thank everybody for their contribution, super chat, cash apps, and just your time on this day. I know people want to get back to eating or whatever they want to do, chilling with their families. And a warm thank you to my team that made all of this possible. Okay, all of the great animations, wonderful commercials, all of these things that you see, a warm thank you to them. I'm going to wrap this up and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.